What is going on, you beautiful humans? Welcome back to this channel. It is so great to be here with you today. And yes, we are back in the studio. I feel like I'm doing this like studio mini series here of all these recommendations, but the reason being is that I'm working on the studio, redoing the whole thing from the ground up. I'm actually gonna do a full studio reveal coming up and even show you how I'm gonna get 5 filming sets within this one space. So definitely stay tuned for that. Now, I've talked a lot about the Sony a6400 paired with a Sigma 16mm lens that I film here doing the talking head in my studio and then even the run and gun out there. But today I want to talk specifically about the hardware that I'm using to mount the camera on and then even my microphone. This has allowed me more floor space. And what I mean by that is that yes, I have tripods, I have boom arms, I have C-stands, but all of that takes up floor space so that if I'm moving around my studio doing multiple takes on some B-roll or multiple filming situations in this particular space, it's allowing me to get around my studio without tripping over the bases of those tripods and boom arms and C-stands. Now, this particular setup, the DIY hardware, I have recommended it before, and you know that I love gear that you can use multiple ways. And what I'm talking about today is the extra large monitor mount system from Wally. And I will link everything up below so that you know what to get, you know what I'm using, exactly what I'm using if you want to set it up that way. Now, this extra large system has allowed me to put 2 arms set up, one for the camera and then one for the microphone, although I could definitely put more arms on this and allow me to even put a light over here if I need to give me that key light. Although what I am using still is the Godox SLW60 along with the Aperture light dome, the full light dome, because the one thing I will say is that yes, that is on a C-stand and that is definitely taking up some space, but I just love this lamp and the fact that it is adjustable as far as like what the output is, and I just love the softbox, the diffusion that I get from the Aperture. So that is one thing that I will say that is not on this setup, although you can see other setups. Like Caleb Pike had also done a video on his setup where he put the light on the mount itself. But getting back to this setup, what we're going to be talking about, starting with the bottom arm here, is an adjustable arm that can allow a monitor to be set on it. So you can imagine that it's going to be able to hold my camera, no problem. I'm sure it's going to hold no matter what camera you put on it. And I have the camera on top of the monitor bracket that also has, and I love recommending this setup here, these adapters. I will link those up. But I needed to put an adapter on there so that I could fit the ball head on top of that monitor bracket so that I could mount the camera. And that ball head, that's something that you could pull off of your current tripod that you have, or a GorillaPod if you have one. Don't feel like you need to buy another ball head if you already have one that you could use on this setup, but it allows me a little bit more adjustment, a little bit more ability to adjust the camera. Now, working our way down the arm, and let me get to the battery setup itself. So the a6400 doesn't have the greatest battery life. I don't have it plugged into a wall because I don't want to trip over a cord or anything like that. So I do have it plugged in with a dummy battery and an external battery pack using an iFootage setup. And I will link that up. I think it's still available, and if it's not, I will link up an alternative to that. I know that people plug in external batteries to their Sony cameras, but what I find, especially when I'm filming in 4K, is that it doesn't actually charge the battery, and the battery just discharges more slowly. So better to use a dummy battery setup and an external battery pack, or power bank, and something like that, so that you'll just get better battery and just sort of better power management. Now, moving up the extra large post here, what we have is the audio cable that is connected to the boom mic here. And really it's just my Rode Video Micro, which I've recommended time and time again. And so this is actually plugged into the camera. We've got a little bit of cable management though, which is a beauty about this particular arm setup, is because it's supposed to you mount monitors on it, and so there's a little bit of cable management in there, which I really like. And so this allows me to run that extension cable up and plug it right into the Rode Video Micro. Now, one of the things that I need to tell you is that I did remove the plate, the mounting plate for the monitor from this, because what I wanted to do is put a C-clamp on it that also has the ball head that allows a little bit more adjustment. The beauty about this arm is that it goes up and down, so I can make sure that I push it out of the shot, or I can move it from side to side, which is really great. Another thing too is that it's very sturdy, and of course you'll need an Allen wrench here to get that to loosen up a little bit, because when you first get it, it'll probably be very stiff and you're wondering like why you can't adjust it. But remember that this is a Rode Video Micro versus an entire monitor, like a wide display that is very heavy, and so that's why it's probably tougher to move around. So you might need to adjust. There's a section on here on the particular arm that allows a little bit more fluidity when you're moving it up and down. So definitely check that before you start moving it up and down. But the C-clamp and the ball head allows me to do micro adjustments of the microphone itself. Now, I also have the adapters, again, referring back to the little bag of adapters for the Rode Video Micro, so that you can actually put it on that small rig C-clamp. And again, I will link all of that up below. Now, one thing that I really need to share with you that could be a snag, that is a snag for me, and it could be a snag for you, and that's this. Yes. So this is all mounted on the table that I am sitting at, and if you are someone that I talk with my hands a lot, and if you are bumping up against the table, or if you're doing any kind of filming that you could bump up on the table and this is all mounted, well, here's the thing. Your camera is going to shake, and that is going to come through to your audience or whatever it is that you're filming. So I've actually used stools set aside beside the table, and even like when I'm doing stuff in the kitchen, I have mounted it somewhere else, so that if I'm doing top-down shots, flat lays, or food filming, then I have put it on something else, so that if I do bump up against it, then that's not a problem. But I also use a remote for taking those shots as well, so that I don't have to touch the camera and I don't have to be near the table as well, along with an external monitor. That may hold you up, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to recommend this to you because this is something that you can have set up pretty much like all the time, and even when I'm not filming, I can still be working at my table, working at the desk, and then think like, oh, I need to film something, or I really want to film something, some talking head. Just turn the camera on because it's already set up and ready to go. What questions and comments do you have for me? Hit me up below. And if you liked this content, you know the things that you can do for this channel and for the community, and I really appreciate your time and attention. If this is something that wasn't helpful or you didn't like it, feel free to hit the dislike button and then go out there and give somebody a hug. Now, you go do the things. I'm gonna be creating more content. I will catch you right back here, and until then, you keep rocking faces.